Durham is bringing the apocalypse. These are like, the four horsemen on the run, between Barr, Durham, Horowitz, and Huber. I call them the four horsemen of the apocalypse for the deep state, because they are going to bring the thunder. I cannot wait for some of these findings. And obviously, the big thing we're all still waiting for is the IG report. And that's, I think, going to be the real kickoff of everything.
Hey guys, before we begin this interview with our good friend Neon Revolt, just a quick note from this interview's sponsor, the nice shark over at Shark Tank, Robert Herjavec. Imagine if you'd received a personal invitation to invest $50 in Uber when it was a startup. On IPO day, you would have made $248,000. The same $50 invested in Amazon before it IPO'd could have made you over $7 million. Mike Merkula was Apple's first angel investor, and on IPO day, his windfall was already 220,000%. But that was when Apple was only worth $1.8 billion as a company. Today, it's approaching $1 trillion market cap. Imagine what Merkula's net worth has grown to. Now look at these surprising returns from these popular startups you've heard of, some earning 500,000% or more. Now, what would you rather be, the angel investor or the IPO investor? How would you feel if you could lock in a ground floor opportunity in the hottest startups this year? Fortunately, Shark Tank's Robert Herjavec and his team of ultra-successful angel investors are here to help deliver angel deals with life-changing upside delivered to you on a silver platter. So watch the free video at getangelrich.com or click the link in the description to see how you can participate in these potentially lucrative deals. That's getangelrich.com. I'll leave the link below this interview. Welcome back, friends, and thank you so much for tuning in. Glad to have you back. Let's get started with our friend Neon Revolt. You know his website, neonrevolt.com. Google doesn't want you to know it. In fact, it's kind of hard sometimes to get to his website. If you just type in Neon Revolt, it's not going to work. You got to go up to the URL. You got to type in neonrevolt.com, and then maybe you'll get there. I suggest you use Bing because Google doesn't give a damn about truth anymore. In fact, they despise it, which is why they've changed their algorithms to filter it out completely. Joining me right now is the one, the only Neon Revolt. How are you, Neon?
Hey, Sean, I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Hey, man, thanks for coming back. Hey, we have a pretty exciting announcement to make right at the top of the show, and I want to share it with everybody. Why don't we lead with the best news, and then we'll get to good news as the deep state reveals itself. But the first ever SGT report book drawing, right? That's going to be your book, Revolution Q, the story of QAnon and the Second American Revolution by Neon Revolt. Guys, I have a copy of this book. In fact, I have two copies. I bought it during the Indiegogo funding. I think it was Indiegogo, Neon. You correct me if I'm wrong.
That's correct, yeah.
Yeah, I bought two copies. I wish I'd bought 5 or 10 because this thing, it's got to weigh 2.5 pounds. It is a beautiful book. It is hundreds of pages long with color photos. Friends, if you want to know the history, you can hear me flipping through it. Listen. If you want to know the history of Q, if you want to have a fantastic book for your library, well, Neon's going to tell you how you might be able to buy it in the future, but I'm going to tell you how you can get in a drawing for 3 copies of this book, which we will give away right now. If you go to sgtreport.com, on the right-hand column of the website, you will see right below my Patreon link. And again, a shout out, thank you to my patrons. You're keeping me in the fight for truth every single day. Right below the Patreon link, you will see the tab Revolution Q, book giveaway, 3 winners. Click here to sign up. And friends, I think at this point, we are going to let the sign up period run through Monday night at midnight Central. That's Monday night, November 11th, Veterans Day, November 11th at midnight. I will also leave the link to the sign up below. So you don't necessarily have to go to sgtreport.com and click that link. I'll leave the link below. Sign up, give us your email. We will do the drawing. I will try to record the drawing so you can all see how that goes. I got to figure out how to do that. I did use a plug-in for this, so it'll all be fair and random. We will draw 3 winners, and then Neon Revolt himself will mail out those 3 books. I will give him the names and the addresses of the 3 winners. I think that's a pretty exciting way to do it, Neon.
Yeah, this is great. And it's coming from my own personal stash of copies. So the book, we're actually having a hard time keeping it in stock right now. If you try to go to Amazon, you're going to see that they're sold out. I can tell you for a fact that they have a pallet sitting in their warehouse, which we're just waiting for them to process, and they're backed up because of Black Friday. Everybody's sending them just a ton of inventory right now. So they have books that they're not selling just yet, but they will be back on the market soon. And so this is really going to be one of the only ways to get a physical copy for the time being. Other than that, there's always the Kindle version. But yeah, we were able to release the book on the 6th, and we're really happy. I'm really happy to be able to run this giveaway with Sean. So we're going to pick 3 winners, and we're going to have a lot of fun.
Yeah, thanks for doing it. I think it'll be fun too. I think in the future I might do an SGT Report 999 silver coin giveaway as well. I think that's a fun thing. I like this plugin. So we'll try to do more giveaways in the future with authors and stuff, guys. So stay tuned. Let me tell you, we've got some exciting things and exciting people lined up here in the very near future. This call is really about revealing the deep state and revealing Q. So we have a lot to talk about. The other thing I might say, just regarding your book quickly, Revolution Q. Guys, it's not hyperbole when I say you'd want a copy of this in your library, a hard copy. This thing is absolutely beautiful. And the publication of this book, the printing of this book, I know was no small feat because you actually went the first class way of doing it, Neon. How will people be able to buy a copy in the future? I know that the last time I talked about your book, I had bought it through the Indiegogo funding campaign, which was a limited time. I think there was only 48 or 72 hours left when I bought the book. And by the time people heard that interview, a lot of people were ticked because that window of opportunity had closed and then they couldn't buy the book. So Amazon, really? That's the best way to get it, but we don't know when, huh? How much are they charging?
It's like $19.03. They knocked down the price a little bit. Basically, Amazon does whatever it wants when it comes to pricing. So it is slightly cheaper than what I was able to charge through the Indiegogo. But we're working on getting it through other retailers as soon as we can. I know we've got our eyes on several other large retailers. So if you don't like Amazon, you can always hang in there for a little bit, and we're going to try to get it to you up through other means. But the big bottleneck we're facing right now is obviously printing and printing costs. So I mean, I don't have a big publisher behind me. There's nobody, it's me on my own. And so it whatever we end up printing is what I decide and what I think is possible. So we're looking right now at prices for a second printing, because the demand has been through the roof. But if you just can't wait, obviously ebooks are always there. So, and that's the nice part about ebooks, is that you don't need physical inventory. But we are working hard. We are trying to get these out as fast as we can, and hopefully we'll be able to get them back in before the holidays.
All right, cool. All right, guys. Anyway, I'll leave the link for the giveaway below this interview. So click there, sign up, and we'll let you know how that turns out. All right, well, let's talk about Q. You probably heard this the other day, Neon, President Trump at a rally in which he said this. I thought it was kind of funny that he said this because you and I both know he has no desire to be a dictator. I think he does have a desire to restore the republic, but here's what he said. Listen to this.
What they don't know is that when we hang it up in 5 years, or 9 years, or 13 years, or maybe 17 years.
Okay, I'll pause it there. I like that the people behind him are all wearing T-shirts that say "Read the transcript." Maybe we ought to send some of those T-shirts over to the folks at CNN. 9, 13, and 17. Using the alphabet, guys, 9 is I, 13 is M, and 17 is Q. I'm Q. Now, of course, he went on, and there was more numbers that he shared there. But your thoughts on that? Is that a road too far? I'm seeing some people say that's confirmation that Donald Trump is Q.
Well, I certainly think there are some very pregnant pauses in between those numbers. And we've seen this from President Trump in the past, where he points and he indicates, he's given us the air cues. He says a certain turn of phrase like, these people are sick, and that's obviously a direct reference to things Q has said. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if this was just yet another confirmation on top of the pile of confirmations we've already received from President Trump.
All right, well, we will keep our eye on that, but one thing is absolutely 100% certain, and I covered this in my interview with Dave Janda just the other day. The deep state is revealing itself like never before, and they're flat out saying it. They're praising the deep state. Not only are they acknowledging it exists, they're saying thank God for the deep state, as former CIA Director John McLaughlin did just the other day. Listen to this exchange. This is CBS's Margaret Brennan talking to John McLaughlin, and of course, John Brennan is there as well. Listen to this.
You'd have to agree that now
totally.
The impeachment inquiry is underway, sparked by a complaint from someone within the intelligence community. It feeds the president's concern and often used term about a deep state being there to take him out.
Thank God for the deep state.
I'll pause it there. Of course, the sycophantic audience applauds and laughs and cheers. And then he goes on to talk about the higher calling of the deep state. Neon, these people are just laying themselves bare. They're traitors and they're seditious, and I don't know any other way to describe it.
Well, this is a very important turn in the narrative. I know you got to remember this from back in 2015, 2016. All the articles, all the MSM journalists who were telling us there's no deep state, there's no such thing. You guys are crazy. You guys are all conspiracy theorists. And now it shifted completely to saying, no, the deep state is our best friend. They're our last line of protection between us and this, megalomaniacal madman. So that's a big shift in the rhetoric. And you're even seeing something like this trying to happen with, the whistle. I call him the whistle leaker. The people will call him the whistleblower. I call him the whistle leaker now because I think that's more appropriate. And what I realized the other day, and Brian Cates tweeted this out, he said, what you're seeing right now with this whistleblower in the Ukraine situation is that they're trying to get in front of the IG report, showing them as criminal leakers. So they're trying to spin the narrative in front of everything now. So I think you're seeing something similar with this, where they're not even hiding it anymore. They're just saying, oh yeah, sure, there's a deep state, and the deep state is good.
Let me ask your opinion here, and I have mine, but I have a tendency to blabber on a bit too much with my questions. So I'll just ask you, what do you think the deep state is? What would you describe the deep state shadow government as being, kind of specifically in your view?
Specifically, I think it is a power structure that it operates in degrees of disclosure among the higher ranking members who are there to protect a cult that operates worldwide in the halls of power. That's my take on it.
Okay. And does this deep state include aspects of a breakaway military? And I'm really referring to the Pentagon, Cheyenne Mountain. Who's chemtrailing California? Who's using directed energy weapons in California, if that's what's going on? I just interviewed Deborah Tavares the other day about UN Agenda 2030. She says it doesn't matter who's sitting in the White House. That agenda is being fast-tracked in cities all across the country. Google your own city, guys. Look it up. Just Google your city/sustainability. You'll see the agenda. It's being carried out, and it's an anti-human agenda. The goal, to remove all our current forms of energy by 2030 and not replace them. Deborah says, in their own words, they want to rewind our living standards to the mid-17th century, Neon. So who is the deep state aside from these intelligence agencies? Clearly it involves the CIA, right?
Right.
McLaughlin, Brennan.
Sure.
What else comprises the deep state?
I think you've got other international intelligence agencies. Obviously you have the Vatican's own intelligence agency. You have things like Mossad. Then you have splinter groups like the Mega Group. They're all functioning in different capacities, and they all support the same power structure. And that's what they really want. It's all about maintaining that control and that hegemony over the common man. And you do that by perpetually weakening them. Like you said, there's systems. They perpetuate lies against us in order to gain control every single day, even down to the local level. You're seeing Soros injecting funds into all sorts of local elections now, all across America.
Are you there?
Yeah. Did I lose you there?
Yeah, I lost you for about 5 seconds. Okay.
Yeah, and Soros is now funding all sorts of campaigns across the country down at the local level. He's funneling all this money to make sure that he can have power over your local town and county.
Yeah. Well, Soros is definitely one of these kingpins, along with the intelligence agencies, along with Hillary Clinton. By the way, I can play a Hillary Clinton soundbite I played the other day. People have heard this, but I think it's really telling because, again, if we mention the deep state and the cover-up of their crimes, we have to include the Mockingbird mainstream horror media, right? We would be totally remiss if we didn't throw in CNN and MSNBC and all of the reporters that colluded with the Clinton campaign in 2016 and were friendly with her. I think we have a soundbite from, was it Jake Tapper? Or no, Chris Cuomo over at CNN saying, hey, we couldn't have helped her any more than we have. We're all in on Hillary Clinton.
She's on her way to deciding.
We'll see.
About deciding.
We couldn't help her any more than we have.
I know.
She's got just a free ride so far from the media. We're the biggest ones promoting her campaigns.
This is an exchange between Trevor Noah and Chelsea and Hillary Clinton. And I'm sure you heard this, but let's just listen because I think it's very telling.
Hillary, I have to ask you a question that has been plaguing me for a while. How did you kill Jeffrey Epstein? Because you're not in power, but you have all the power.
See, that's very clever. Let me just pause it. We can continue to play the soundbite. I want your thoughts. That's very clever, isn't it?
Well, I don't think it's very funny. And I know a lot of people who also don't think it's very funny. This isn't comedy. This is propaganda. And it's becoming so transparent now that people are tuning out in droves and going to the alt media, where frankly, people are much better informed and often a lot more entertaining. So the fact that they even have to address this now just, again, shows how far we're pushing the narrative and how much control we have. Again, look at the way ABC handled the situation. We all know about the Project Veritas leaks in regards to Epstein, and how they spiked the story back in 2016. How many people suffered because of that? And then if you look even deeper, you'll see connections between Epstein and ABC's corporate board. So, of course, they're all on board with her. They're completely compromised. And I think what we really want in America is an uncompromised media who's willing to tell the truth.
That's absolutely what we want, right? The fourth estate.
Right.
The whole job of the journalism that's supposed to be happening in this country is to keep the government accountable. But when the journalists are in bed with the politicians, as so many of them were and are with the Clintons.
We couldn't help her any more than we have.
I know.
You know what I mean? She's got just a free ride so far from the media. We're the biggest ones promoting her campaigns.
Then it's game over, right? It's game over for the Republic. And that's why they're shutting down and shutting up the alternative news media, the truth media on YouTube and otherwise. You mentioned ABC. Let's talk about Amy Robach in this hot mic. It's very telling in that, I tend to throw out the baby with the bathwater. When I think of the mainstream media, I'm thinking, ABC News, Deep State, cover-up artists. They won't tell the truth about the whistleblower. They won't tell the truth about the original witch hunt or the secondary witch hunt now with the Ukraine call, which is a fable. It's nonsense. And Amy Robach is shown to be a truthful reporter who wanted to get the story out about Jeffrey Epstein, but the higher ups at the network said, forget about it. This isn't getting out. Yeah, listen to this, the hot mic.
ABC News anchorwoman Amy Robach is talking to her producer on a hot mic. She says she had the Jeffrey Epstein story 3 years ago, and her bosses at ABC News spiked it.
And then Alan Dershowitz was also implicated in it because of the planes. She told me everything. She had pictures. She had everything. She was in hiding for 12 years. We convinced her to come out. We convinced her to talk to us. It was unbelievable what we had. Clinton, we had everything. I tried for 3 years to get it on, to no avail, and now it's all coming out, and it's like these new revelations, and I freaking had all of it. I'm so pissed right now. Like every day I get more and more pissed because I'm just like, oh my God, what we had was unreal.
I'll pause it there. She had pictures. I think she's referring to Virginia Roberts, who was in hiding.
That's correct.
And ABC News spiked it. Neon, I remember after 9/11 being very vocal in the workspace, telling my friends after seeing World Trade Center 7, I'm like, there's more to this story. And my friends and colleagues would always say, if what you're saying is true, do you think that a young, hungry journalist wouldn't route this out? You figured it out, but ABC News can't figure it out?
Right.
No, they don't allow these stories to be reported about.
No, it's like the mob. They all protect each other.
And people like Amy Robach are left to, I guess, what? Quit? Resign? Or get caught on a hot mic and probably be fired?
Well, they're left with very little recourse, that's for sure. Obviously, there's some people who are expressing anger towards her, or saying, why didn't she go to the authorities? Why didn't she say something to someone? I think she probably could have. It's hard to say, and it's hard to understand, maybe she was threatened. Maybe she was blackmailed. We don't know the whole story there, but it does leave the question in our minds, they had this story 3 years ago. How many people were victimized since then by Jeffrey Epstein and what he was doing?
All right. Well, I do want to talk to you about 8chan, which is now 8kun, and tell us about what's happening over there. Before we do that, though, that Trevor Noah soundbite I was playing, it goes on to have Hillary Clinton say that those of us, libertarians, conservatives, Trump supporters, demonize her to no end and concoct ways that somehow she's been a criminal. And she doesn't, in her own words, she says, I just don't understand what I've done to make them feel this way, essentially.
Oh, yeah. She's such a victim, isn't she?
Yeah.
I feel so bad for her.
Does that astound you? I mean, is that spoken as only a good sociopath could speak it?
Exactly. And you know what's really even more troubling is that there are people in this country who still buy that line.
Do you think, as I do, they're setting her up for a 2020 run?
I'm back and forth on the issue. I wouldn't be surprised at this point, but we'll see. We'll have to see.
All right. Hey, speaking of the deep state, Donald Trump Jr. has outed the quote-unquote whistleblower. I just talked about this actually with Dave Janda. So people in our space knew the name. I can't even say it. Is it Chiamella? Caramel? How do you say his name?
I think it's Charamella.
Charamella. Yeah. So people in the truth media know what's going on, but you're never going to hear this from the mainstream media. And when I run on the treadmill every single day, I tune into CNN, and they just omit the truth. They lie by omission all day long. That's literally all they do, Neon.
Yep.
Do you think they're going to mention his name? Do you think they're going to mention that Donald Trump Jr. has outed him?
I mean, it really depends what the Republicans do with the information now. If they start, you're going to have to see a push from them on this front, and they're going to have to start scoring some points big time, because if it was up to the media, I don't think they're going to touch this.
All right. Do you want to talk a little bit about 8chan? Tell us what happened with 8chan and what's going on now. I guess the new version is 8kun.
Yeah. So as we all know, 8chan was deplatformed 3 months ago, roughly, after following what the media will say was a wake in the wake of several shootings and shooters posting manifestos to the politically incorrect board. And it was deplatformed by all its service providers, Cloudflare most prominently, and the site went offline. And just recently, after several months of development, the site has come back online, rebranded as 8kun. For those who don't know, that's sort of a play on Japanese words, where it's the more grown-up version of the site. And it's come back with new moderator tools. A number of the boards have been migrated over from the pre-existing code base. They're working on decentralization tools as we speak. And Q himself has already posted a number of times, thankfully, back on the boards. And most notably, pointing to a proof where it shows that he kind of gave us a warning saying, I'm going to be gone for, I think it was 93 or 96 days. I got to look at the specific post. But yeah, it was great to have Q back. Obviously, a lot of people in the Q community breathed a little bit of a sigh of relief, and then we all kind of chuckled when we saw the post, because we go, oh my goodness, he told us again. And we all were kind of left stunned to wonder, how does he do this? How does he predict this kind of stuff? So that's been fun to see. But we're not towards operational stability yet. That's still being worked out, and I'm hoping we see more improvements over the coming days and weeks. And that's what we've been promised, and I think that's what we will see.
You correct me if I'm wrong here. It's Patriots Fight. Was that the Q board that was on 8chan?
Well, there's two. So the regular Anons, the rabble of us Anons, we would post on something called Q Research. And then Q had his very own board called Patriots Fight. Okay. And that was where he had a separate login system apart from his trip code, where he logged in and controlled everything. He was actually the only person who could post to that board. So sometimes he would drop his posts there instead of on Q Research, and he could manage everything and delete posts if he wanted to. He had total control over that. And in the initial migration, only Q Research was migrated over. And that was interesting, because if you wanted to have your board migrated over, you actually had to reach out to the site admins and say, hey, I'm a returning moderator. I want my board moved over. Can you please facilitate that? And so this is important, because many in the anti-Q media, what I call Quizlings, have accused the Watkins, who are the site owners of formerly 8chan, now 8kun, of somehow running the Q operation or being in bed with the Q operation. And I've been in direct contact with Jim Watkins, and he actually didn't know that Patriots Fight was Q's own board, and they didn't know to migrate it over. So I said, hey, I know you guys probably have to, are looking for someone to reach out and say, hey, will you please migrate this board? But I don't think you're going to get that in the case of Q. Q's the only guy who posts to that board. He's the only one with the capability of posting to that board. I think you guys should migrate it over for him. He said, okay, well, we're definitely going to look into that and make sure that happens. So I can confirm, at least from what I know, what I've been told, that Patriots Fight will be coming back and Q will be getting his board back. So that's good news on that front.
Okay. So for neophytes who are listening, who might want to go and take a look at 8kun, I guess it's not live yet, is it? Just explain how people even get there. How would they go and sort of monitor some of these discussions or observe them if they wanted to?
So normally you would visit it like any other website, 8kun.net. However, there's been a number of issues that have popped up between different hacking attacks, DDoS attacks, and just issues with service providers deplatforming them. So the site has only been intermittently available over the ClearNet. You might not be able to access it through just your regular browser. However, there are a number of hidden services across which you can access 8kun. These are more technical. I would advise only doing this if you know what you're doing. Definitely be safe. Use things like a VPN. Make sure you know what you're doing on a technical level. But you can access the site through Tor. You can also access the site through a newer blockchain-based service called LokiNet. And there are, if anybody wants specific instructions, I published an article recently that sort of give a step-by-step how to get to that. But again, there's not a lot happening right now. Posting is intermittent at best. There's not a lot of information flowing. We're hoping for greater stability in the coming days and that users will be able to post again. But if you're looking for a step-by-step, I do have that on my site at neonrevolt.com, and that should get you online and running fairly easily.
Okay. And regarding these newest posts from Q, we're to presume these are actually from Q, correct? I guess I'd call people's attention to qanon.pub. That's one great way to just see the latest from Q. And there was a lull. What did you say? It was 93 days? It was August 1st was the last until November 2nd. The last Q post was August 1st.
Yeah, 93 days.
93 days. So qanon.pub, guys. We have Q tweeting a bunch of DoD security config secret codes. I don't have any idea what that stuff is. Maybe you do. And then he linked to a YouTube video of the American flag waving in the wind for 2 minutes, 55 seconds. And then a couple of Twitter links, one from 3 Days, 3 Nights, which I think is very interesting.
Yeah.
And another one here from... Who's this one from? Veteran mob prosecutor John Durham was not appointed by AG Barr. This is from Wyatt. Oh, I love Wyatt on Twitter.
Yeah, he's
Durham
great.
served as interim U.S. attorney since October 28th, 2017, after Sessions appointed him. Coincidentally, the same day Q began posting, President Trump nominated Durham as U.S. attorney on November 1st, 2017. F me, it's happening. What do you think he means by that? F me, it's happening. He's saying this is real. John Durham's for real. They're actually going after the deep state.
Durham is bringing the apocalypse. These are like, the 4 horsemen on the run, between Barr, Durham, Horowitz, and Huber. I call them the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse for the deep state, because they are going to bring the thunder. I cannot wait for some of these findings. And obviously, the big thing we're all still waiting for is the IG report. And that's, I think, going to be the real kickoff of everything.
Let me ask your opinion on this. If everything that you've just sort of hinted at, no, you didn't hint at it, you've explicitly said, big things are coming, right? Booms are coming for the deep state. Justice is coming. If the entire mainstream media apparatus is in the pocket of the deep state and will not report the truth, how is President Trump going to recapture the narrative and properly inform the American people who the real criminals are? How in the world is the real narrative about the deep state coup against this president going to be made clear to the American people without the help of the media?
I think that's the genius of the Q operation. A lot of naysayers like to accuse the Q operation of being something that was created in order to pacify us, in order to lull us into a false sense of security that someone is coming to save us. I don't think that's the correct read at all. I think the fundamental goal of the Q operation is to create a groundswell of media, alternative media, that operates online and through social media networks in order to counteract the narrative. And you can see that we're moving the needle every single day. And that's partially why I wrote my book, is because now that competes for shelf space in every single store in America, with the official narrative, the MSM deep state manufactured narrative, I should say. So when you see the size and the force of the Q army, as it were, you're looking at the result of 2 years of work in order to counteract this narrative.
Well, I think we are living in very interesting times. I think that's the understatement of the year. We're standing on the cusp of either a republic for another 10, 20, 100 years, or a deep state globalist future that is going to end the republic. How else even... I don't want to overstate or understate the...
No, those are the stakes. Those are absolutely the stakes. You said it correctly.
Okay, because it's astounding to sit here knowing what we know and then watch CNN which continues to just lie all day long. I mean, it's just, what is your greatest hope as we round out this conversation? Can you sort of give me your best hope for the next year? Because I made this point with Janda. We've only got a year left. If these people steal the election a year from now, it's game over.
Well, I have some hope that they most likely won't, because I don't know if you saw that there was the joint statement from the DOJ, the DOD, the DHS, the DNI, the FBI, the NSA, and the CISA on ensuring election security of the 2020 elections. And it's, Bill Barr, it's Defense Secretary Mark Esper, it's Acting Secretary of Homeland Security Kevin McAleenan, and a bunch of others, Christopher Wray, Paul Nakasone, all these guys coming together. They have a whole system in place now to ensure that the election is secure, just like Q told us they would. It's not a voter ID system like we would like, but they are in control, let's say. And it's really up to us now to make sure that enough people know what's really going on so that they vote appropriately in the coming years. And I think, obviously, it's a lot like 2015 and 2016, where many of the polls were manufactured and biased. That poll that you cited from Fox News about impeachment was weighed like D+20 or whatever it was to get that result. These polls aren't real. They're not reflecting reality. We can't really trust the media to show us anything that accurately assesses the situation as it is. So the onus is on us, really. How determined are we to have our country back? How determined are we to have a future for ourselves? Because if we don't step up and start spreading the word and making sure that everyone in our direct vicinity knows, you know what? It really comes down to, what price are you willing to pay? Because I've, lost friends over this stuff. I've lost relationships. I've lost, there's a cost, but there's also a reward if you're successful. And I think you just got to keep that in mind. You're going to have a republic if you can keep it.
I think Jefferson said that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Final question. And it's a big one. I don't know if there's an answer. I believe you think there's an answer, and I would love to hear your opinion. And I pray to God you're right. But this deep state, if we start to see indictments come down, if we start to see arrests, people like Clapper, Brennan, Obama. Clapper, by the way, throwing Obama under the bus recently, saying, hey, we were just doing what the president told us to do as it relates to spying on then candidate Trump and then President Trump. If we start to see indictments of these people, how is that going to be enforced when the mainstream media will try to whipsaw the insane left into saying that this is all unconstitutional and being done by President Trump to target his political enemies? What's he going to have to do? I mean, he's got the military on his side at this point. Is that correct?
Right, absolutely. And to a certain extent, they've always anticipated a certain degree of rioting and disorderly conduct from the left as a result of this. I think Q has famously said there's 4 to 6% of the population that's permanently lost no matter what we do. That's what we estimate. And we pray in the meantime that it's not more than that. And we work as hard as we can to make sure that it's not more than that. But as far as what President Trump can do, he needs to be consistent in his messaging. They need to make sure they get their message out across social media and through things like the Q Army and the whole Q plan. And beyond that, what else can you do? It's you do what you always do. You tell the truth. And at a certain point, the truth will speak for itself. At least that's my personal belief. And I think that's proving true as this stretches on. More and more people are seeing the lies. There was a very prominent Democrat on Twitter today who was saying, he's like, I can't ignore the fact that the same people involved in the Russia collusion hoax are the same people involved in the Ukrainian hoax. So, and this is a guy who was, staunch Democrat for years, staunch leftist. People know when they're being lied to, and people don't like being lied to. That's the true thing. That's really going to, I think, affect a lot of people. It's when they realize they're being lied to and manipulated, they're going to get angry.
That's the hope. All right, final question. They call people who have been following this Q story delusional. If we were all just delusional and there was no there, then why would they pay attention to Q at all? I guess that's really not a question. It's an observation for the audience. But here's the final statement / question. They call us Nazis, those of us who are pro-Trump, pro-MAGA, pro-USA. They call us Nazis. So let me ask you this, Mr. Nazi Neon. Are you pro-life?
Yeah.
So am I. Are you pro-national sovereignty?
Absolutely.
Are you anti-globalist in that you don't believe we should abdicate our republic to a chosen few sitting in Brussels or God knows where?
100%.
Are you anti-UN Agenda 2030, which aims to take away our current forms of energy and turn us into serfs?
Oh, you better believe it.
So am I. All right, guys, if that is what a Nazi is, then I guess we're Nazis. But I can tell you firsthand, all we are is people that care about others, and we care about our country, we care about having a country, and we will not go willing into this new world order, one world government, one world religion future. Okay? It's not for us. Oh, last question. Are you pro Second Amendment?
Absolutely.
Yeah, me too. Pro First Amendment?
Yes.
So you're pro Bill of Rights?
Yes.
Huh, me too.
Funny about that.
Yeah, do you dig the Constitution?
Constitution's great.
Yeah, I think so too. Huh. All right, guys. I mean, I guess that's your choice. You can walk happily into destruction with leftists who want $53 trillion Medicare for all programs and $17 trillion new green deals. Or you can come to our side where freedom and liberty is it. That's the whole campaign. Freedom and liberty. Our guest has been Neon Revolt. Buddy, can you shout out your website so people understand how to get there? And again, just tell them quickly about the book and the best way to get it.
Yeah, if you want to visit my website, there are over 500 articles on the subject of Q now. You go to www.neonrevolt.com, and there you'll find links to both my Gab profile and the Great Awakening group, where you'll find a great forum full of researchers and diggers who are working 24 hours around the clock. And as well, you'll also find links to my book there. It's only available on Amazon. We're hoping to bring it to other retailers soon. But if you were to just go to Amazon and type in Revolution Q or my name, Neon Revolt, it would pop up. So fairly simple. You guys know how to do it.
Yeah, very good. Oh, and guys, reminder, sign up for the drawing at sgtreport.com. It's the link right below Patreon. We're giving away 3 Revolution Q books by Neon Revolt, the story of QAnon and the Second American Revolution. So sign up. You've got until, I think, Monday night, November 11th at midnight. And then we'll do the drawing Tuesday or Wednesday, and we'll get those books out. We'll let people know who the winners were. I guess I can only give away first names and last name initials. But sign up. And I'll leave the link to that giveaway below this interview. That makes it easier for folks to sign up as well. All right, Neon, thanks so much for your time.
Thanks, Sean. It was great talking to you.
You too, my friend. And guys, thank you so much for tuning in for Real News 24/7, the antidote to corporate propaganda. Of course, visit us directly at sgtreport.com 24/7. Thanks so much for listening. God bless.
The same people that were involved in this Ukraine goat rodeo hoax, and let's face it, the Sharmella was an acolyte of Brennan, are the same people that were involved in the fake Russian collusion hoax. Again, Brennan, who had Halper, who had Mifsud, who had Downer, who was coordinating this whole thing.